There we go. Hello. Welcome. We'll be starting very soon, just getting things set up here. And we'll be ready to go. Good to be back. Sorry about that. I'll start in a moment. Alright, about to start. Just getting things set up here. Alright. Yeah. let's get. All right, we're good. Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Benny in the Booth podcast. On this week's episode, gonna go over some headlines that's happened in MLB since the last episode of the podcast. Catch you up on what's happened in the NBA since last episode of the podcast. A bit of news from the NFL that actually happened today, and a bit about the podcast regarding in the summer. It will still be going on, just a bit of potential change depending on circumstance situations. But let's get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 35 of Benny in the Booth podcast. Thank you so much for the support to this point. I very much do appreciate it. If you are new, subscribe to the channel and leave a notification bell on so you're notified when I go live or post a video. It's good to be back. Had a good time in Chicago. It was a fun trip. Sadly, the Cubs didn't win the game I went to, but enjoyed that trip. Hope everyone that's from Jews, Shavuos was good, and happy to be back into the podcast. So one thing I do want to note is I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before. If not, now I'm definitely mentioning this. This summer, I actually have the privilege to be helping out the kosher stand in Yankee Stadium. So if you're going to be going to any Yankee game this summer, you might find me at the kosher stand. So I do plan to still do the podcast this week. Today I'm not working, so I don't have any issues. But there are going to be weeks I might run into where I'm probably going to run into issues. Due to the fact that when you work with the kosher stand, you have to show up a lot earlier to the game than a regular fan. So I still plan to do it. On days where I work and have the podcast, I'll probably pre-record the podcast and post on YouTube afterwards. Where I don't have work that day, I think I'll go live. So that's my plan for the summer. It also goes into September. So it'll also apply for September. But I still plan to do it. It will just be on a different schedule, fluctuating week by week. Just varying on what times I have to be at work by. And so, but this week will definitely be, this week is stream. Next week will probably end up being pre-recorded because I do have work next week, Tuesday. And we'll probably be back to Tuesday, or if not, hopefully Tuesdays next week. But either way, that is the plan. Just wanted to give an update on that. I don't have any updates in regards to anything else with the podcast. Still working on a firm logo. Still working on trying to get Efros on the podcast. Working on in some other things as well. Anyways, let's get into it. So, MLB, I'm not going to go through all the games since we last had a podcast. I'm just going to go through some key headlines that have happened since we last had the podcast. But outside of games, actually, there have been some manager changes in baseball since we last had an episode of the podcast. The Phillies fired Joe Girardi, and now their bench coach, Rob Thompson, is the new interim manager, and apparently lit a fire under their team because ever since they fired Joe Girardi, they've been on a 5-game win streak. So maybe this is what turns around Philly's season, because right now it's looking like they're getting real hot right now. Other teams also getting hot and cold. We'll get into that. The Angels actually are on the opposite end. Since late May, have been on a 13-game losing streak, and today fired Joe Madden, Phil Nevin becoming their new interim manager, which is funny because Joe Madden now he's lost his last 2 jobs because of huge losing streaks, to the detriment of their team, of the team he managed on. Cubs, he lost his job in 19 because of all the collapse of 2019, and that was a plethora of losing streaks. And now Angels, because of this 13-game losing streak, which is just, it's a rough time to be an Angels fan right now. Hopefully they start to bounce things back in order soon, especially with how good their season had been until that losing streak. We'll see what happens, but yeah, Philly's been red hot since the manager change. Reds have actually recently been starting to turn things around and showing that people have been underrating them, as they've been really hot. They actually, since we last had a podcast, they put up 20. They hammered the Cubs 20-5, and even last night beat the Diamondbacks. I know it's not like a big thing being the Diamondbacks, but they won 14-8. So they're starting to show that people might have been underestimating the Reds. On the other hand, Dodgers have been slipping a bit lately, including getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates of all teams. The Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, I'm not saying it's concern of, they're going to miss the playoffs, or, they're going to... No. But it's definitely not the brightest sign to be getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates of all teams. The Pirates. Not the Padres, not the Giants, not anyone good in their division, though then again, who isn't really good in their division right now. Not the Brewers, the Pirates. And they actually lost last night to the White Sox. I think they have like a 2 or 3 game set that continues into today. But yeah. So other main headlines. So Marcus Semien yesterday actually had a 3-homer game between a doubleheader. First game had 1 and then had 2 homers in the second game, combining for 3 home runs. Now at 6 this year. So maybe this is the start of him getting a spark up after his terrible start. Eduardo Escobar on Monday hit for the cycle against the Padres. He's really showing that he's been really good for the Mets this year, and good for him to have that moment. I think it was it was first cycle in Mets history since like 2012, so good for them. Lane Thomas for the Nationals Friday, I believe, or either this past Friday or one Friday ago or something, recently had a 3-homer game. Paul Goldschmidt had a 25-game hit streak for a while. That ended, though, on June 4th against the Cubs. Brendan Rodgers had a 3-homer game for the Rockies in the second game of a doubleheader. I'm pretty sure it was second game of a doubleheader against the Marlins. Third one being a walk-off to win the Rockies the game. Trey Turner also had a huge game hitting streak. His was 24, but that ended on June 2nd. Going into yesterday, Josh Hader had a 40 consecutive scoreless appearances, 38.0 straight scoreless innings pitched, and 32 consecutive save streaks, all blown on back-to-back all broken on back-to-back home runs by Alec Boehm, who tied the game, and Matt Vierling, who hit the go-ahead home run in a 3-2 loss for the Brewers to the red-hot Phillies. Charlie Blackmon yesterday, and then last note from since we last met, Charlie Blackmon hit career home run number 200 yesterday in the Rockies game. Those are the headlines from since that we last met. Just to give a standings update, the AL East, the Yankees are still in first place, 40-15 on a 7-game win streak, followed by the Blue Jays, 33-22 on a 2-game win streak, followed by the Rays, 32-23 on a 1-game win streak, followed by the Red Sox, 29-27 on a 6-game win streak, followed by the Orioles, 24-33 on a 1-game win streak. The AL Central standings, the Twins in first place, 32-25 on a 1-game losing streak, followed by the White Sox, 26-27 on a 3-game win streak, followed by the Guardians, 25-26 on a 1-game losing streak, followed by the Tigers, 22-33 on a 1-game win streak, followed by the Royals, 17-37 on a 3-game losing streak. AL West standings, Houston Astros 36-20 on 1-game win streak, followed by the 27-30 Angels on a 13-game losing streak, followed by the 26-29 Texas Rangers on a 1-game win streak, followed by the 25-31 Mariners on a 1-game losing streak, followed by the 20-37 Athletics on a 7-game losing streak. Welcome to the stream, and thank you for liking the stream. Whoever just popped in. That's this AL standings update. NL standings. Mets are still first place in the East on a 38-20 on 1-game losing streak, followed by the 29-27 Braves on a 6-game winning streak, followed by the 26-29 Phillies on a 5-game win streak, followed by the 23-30 Marlins on a 1-game win streak, followed by the 21-36 Nationals on a 1-game losing streak. The NL Central standings. Milwaukee Brewers in first place, still 33-24 on a 4-game losing streak, followed by 32-24 Cardinals on a 1-game losing streak, followed by the 24-29 Pirates on a 1-game losing streak, followed by the 23-33 Cubs on a 3-game losing streak, followed by the 20-35 Reds on a 2-game win streak, and then the NLS standing update. The Dodgers in first place, 35-20 on a 2-game losing streak, followed by the 34-22 Padres on a 1-game win streak, followed by the 29-35 Giants on a 1-game losing streak, followed by the 26-31 Diamondbacks on a 4-game losing streak, followed by the 24-31 Rockies on a 1-game win streak. Today's schedule, which actually there was a game that already went final. The Tigers beating Pittsburgh at home, beating the Pirates in Pittsburgh 3-1. Will Vest with the win, Will Crow with the loss, Gregory Soto with the save. There's also a game going on right now as we speak. Bottom 5, Royals over the Blue Jays 5-3 in Kansas City. That game is still going on. As for the games that haven't even started, Diamondbacks at Reds tonight at 6:40 p.m. in Cincinnati. Merrill Kelly going for Arizona. Mike Minor going for the Reds. At Mariners at Astros at 6:40 p.m. Logan Gilbert going for Seattle. Jose Urquidy going for the Astros. Nationals at Marlins at 6:40. Josiah Gray going for Washington. Sandy Alcantara going for the Marlins. Cubs at Orioles at 7:05. Marcus Stroman going for the Cubs. Jordan Lyles going for the Orioles. Cardinals at Rays at 7:10 p.m. 7:10. Packy Naughton going for St. Louis. Corey Kluber going for the Rays. Rangers at Guardians at 7:10 p.m. Dane Dunning going for the Rangers. Shane Bieber going for the Guardians. Athletics at Braves at 7:20. Jared Koenig going for Oakland. Ian Anderson going for Atlanta. Yankees at Twins at 7:40 p.m. Nestor Cortez going for the Yankees. Chris Archer going for the Twins. Dodgers at White Sox at 8:10 p.m. Tony Gonsolin going for the Dodgers. Johnny Cueto going for the White Sox. Phillies at Brewers at 8:10. Aaron Nola going for Philly. Adrian Hauser going for Milwaukee. Boston at LA at 9:38 p.m. Nathan Eovaldi going for Boston. Reed Detmers going for the Angels. Mets at Padres at 9:40 p.m. Chris Bassett going for the Mets. Sean Manaea going for the Padres. And then Rockies at Giants at 9:45 p.m. Antonio Sensatella going for Colorado. Alex Wood going for San Francisco. And that's the MLB update. So now for NBA update. Backing up to covering since we last left off. When we last left off, the Warriors were up 3-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Dallas ended up pushing it Game 5, winning Game 4, 119-109. But Golden State won it in 5, 120-110 to advance to the NBA Finals. When we left off on the Eastern Conference Finals, the series was even at 2 games apiece. Boston ended up winning Game 5, 93-80 to take a 3-2 series lead. Miami won Game 6, 111-103 to tie the series at 3-all. And Boston pretty much had Game 7 from beginning to end, winning Game 7, 196 to advance to the NBA Finals. My conference finals predictions, I got none of them right and none of the series lengths right. With my right predicting the winner record prediction, 15-4, series length 5 and 10 overall, both of them being overall. And then NBA Finals, my prediction that I have is that Golden State in 6, and it got off to an awful start. Well, it kind of did, it kind of didn't. Game 1, Golden State was, well, basically Boston won Game 1, 120 to 108. Golden State had it for a good amount of the early portion, but Boston just wrapped it up late and put it out of reach and ended up winning Game 1. 40 combined threes made by between both teams, most in a game in NBA Finals history. In the fourth quarter, Boston had 30 outscored Golden State by 24 points, which is tied for the most in NBA, tied for the largest point differential in any quarter in Finals history. Specifically, they had 31. Golden State had 11 total points for each team in the fourth quarter. Al Horford had 25 points, including a career high between regular season and postseason, 6 3-pointers on the night. Right. And that's all the headlines I got for Game 1. Game 2, Golden State came back and won Game 2, 107-88 to even the series at a game apiece. In Game 2, this was staggering. After Al Horford, who had 25 points in Game 1, Derek White, all these players are for Boston, by the way. Derek White, who had 21 in Game 1 for Boston. Marcus Smart, who had 18 for Boston, combined for 65 in Game 1. Only combined for 16 points in Game 2. Al Horford only having 2. Derek White putting up 12. And Marcus Smart only putting up 2. Game 3 is tonight in Boston, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's the NBA update. And then the NFL, one news has happened recently. The Broncos have new ownership as the Walton Penner family bought them for $4.65 billion. So they now officially have new ownership. And, well, obviously the Deshaun Watson story still a mess. Having more and more lawsuits coming out recently. And hopefully things will get resolved. And apparently I've actually seen that if it gets to a certain number, they could actually opt out of a certain detail of the contract. I don't know exactly how it works, but I saw that somewhere. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get an answer of whether he's going to be suspended or not and how long, if so, sooner than later. But that is this week's episode of the podcast. So let's wrap things up. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Benny and the Booth podcast. On next week's episode, we'll have more of MLB recap. We'll have MLB weekly recap. We'll have NBA Finals. See what ends up happening in the next few games. Maybe we'll be over by next episode, maybe not. And if there's any NFL news, then we'll have that as well. Still hoping to get guests for baseball. Working on that, but haven't officially gotten any. Thanks for watching or listening if you're listening via audio. Subscribe if you're new. Leave notification bell on so you're notified when I go live or post a video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.